So I just watched Jon Stewart's very moving and touching speech to Congress about the 9/11 first responders, and he makes some good points, and I can see why people are so emotionally and vitriolically supporting his speech and are sick and tired of their, quote, representatives not representing anybody in this country, but instead corporations and continued corruption and waste of taxpayer money. But it's interesting that he repeatedly talked about Al-Qaeda and about the terrorists. And it's interesting to me that he didn't talk about the dancing Israelis. He didn't talk about the Israelis that were caught by a New York sheriff's deputy with a van full of explosives and radio equipment and pictures of themselves taking selfies and celebrating the first tower getting hit by the plane. He didn't talk about any of that. And it's also interesting that Jon Stewart is in fact himself of Jewish descent. So why is it that we must continue to follow this false narrative of terrorists and Arabs with box cutters? We all know it's BS. It's been BS the entire time. Everybody knows it's BS. Anybody who believes it was terrorists with box cutters at this point needs to have their head examined. It's nutty that you would even have the presumption to believe such a preposterous pack of lies. It was very clearly not Arabs with box cutters. Those buildings exploded from the top down. Chemists found thermite in the rubble. There's no way that a plane hit on either of those buildings could have caused that damage. We know for a fact it was controlled demolition. Norman Mineta, the Secretary of Transportation, testified under oath that he watched Dick Cheney take the tape of him telling the F-16s to stand down and not fire on the commercial airlines that had already gone off course. Take the tape out of the recorder, chop it into pieces, and leave it in different wastebaskets on multiple floors. And yet we're going to sit here and talk about 9/11 as if it was an Al-Qaeda Arab terrorist attack. We know that it wasn't. We know who was behind it. A New York sheriff deputy who was doing his job that day caught them red-handed with the evidence. They're colloquially known as the dancing Israelis. They are Israelis. They all worked for Urban Moving Systems. Urban Moving Systems was a front for Mossad. Everybody knows this. This is not some crazy conspiracy theory. There's tons of evidence. Go do the research yourself. 9/11 was Dick Cheney working in collusion with Mossad. It's very clear. And the fact that Jon Stewart's going to continue to pretend like this was Al-Qaeda or terrorists with box cutters being directed by some guy on dialysis in a cave. The whole official narrative is so preposterous. How can anybody possibly believe it? He's lying. He's a liar. He has to know about the dancing Israelis. And he's lying about it. Jon Stewart is a liar. A liar who was under the employ of Viacom for many, many years. And if you think Viacom doesn't have motive or motivation for continuing to lie to the American public about the terrorist attacks on 9/11, I don't know what to tell you.